Welcome to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Lights out for the Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome into our post-game show. Bob Pompeani here with Hoke Pro 76, Chris Hoke. We have a couple of hours of post-game reaction for you, interviews, analysis, and then eventually your phone calls on what was the Steeler 32-13 win. And I want to start, Chris, there are a lot of things to break down in this game. Some good, some not so good, but the good part was the defense after that first drive really came to life. I mean, the first drive, it was really easy, I thought, for the Raiders to move right down the field, missing guys like Jacoby Myers, missing Donte Adams, missing some offensive linemen with a backup quarterback. They made it look too easy. But then the Steelers certainly clamped down and took advantage of them.
Well, really, T.J. Watt, right? I mean, these turnovers really turned the game around for the Steelers and put the Raiders on their heels. But the Steelers did clamp down this defense. And to me, Bob, another story in this game, Naji Harris. I think it's one of the best games he's had as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Today, he ran out for 14 carries, 106 yards, 7.6 average. I don't know if we've seen him have kind of that breakaway run. Like he had two of them today. He had that 36-yard touchdown run, and that was beautiful. I've never seen him do that, I don't think, in years.
No, and I think that's one of the things people were waiting for, the home run hitter. We see it a lot with Derrick Henry, right? And you haven't seen it from him, but he turned on the Jets. I'll tell you what, he was running with passion.
Ran angry.
That angry run he had, and he's been among the leaders in the NFL in angry runs, I thought, where he carried about 4 Raiders with him, which was kind of symbolic of his day. But, yeah, he was outstanding today. I thought the offense, now, let's break this down. Justin Fields was good. Again, didn't turn the ball over, using his legs. But if you take away his legs, which I know are a big part of his game, but as far as some of the passing, especially in the first half, there are many overthrows in this first half.
Well, listen, and the reality is this. If you take away that last drive, that last touchdown drive and the passes of George Pickens, he had about 100 yards passing. That's just not a lot of passing. Where he won this game was in his legs, being able to convert third downs, score touchdowns with his legs. That's what he brings to the table. In terms of trying to break the game open with throwing the ball, he's not going to do that, and he hasn't proven to do that yet to this point in the season. And that's the thing that you got to look at when you talk about, Bob, we're going to be talking about this, Russ Wilson versus Justin Fields, is with his arm, he doesn't have the ability to break open the game, but he does that with his legs. So what's valued more? Coach Tomlin, that's what you got to discuss.
Well, I think Mike Tomlin doesn't want to go against winning, and they are winning. Sure. At least they broke a 2-game.
One of the last 3. They've won one of the last 3 games.
Point is, Russell Wilson, to my way of thinking, he's going to play at some point in this season. The question will be week to week. This is going to be something that's analyzed and overanalyzed. Before we go any further, let's take a look at the scoring summary from this game. And you'll see that it was not a very good first half again, and the Steelers have struggled to score touchdowns in the first half of games. In 6 games, they only have 3 touchdowns in 12 quarters in the first half. But they got one at the end because of, again, T.J. Watt making things happen there. Second half, a different story. They took advantage of some field position and opportunities. There was a block punt. But I will say this, in the final, it was 32-13. The last field goal made there by Boswell, who has been terrific on the road. I think it's now 29 straight or 28 straight kicks without missing on the road. And the first 2 were 49 or 52 and 49 yards. But, you know, the bottom line here is the offense had opportunities because of the defense, and yet I thought they wasted some of them. And against a good team, you may not be able to recover like that.
Listen, to me, I don't know, if you're a casual fan and you come in and you look at the score and you think, oh, Steelers blew out the Raiders, 32-13. No way, not so fast. I don't believe that, because there were 21 points out there that were hidden that could have gone either way. I mean, those 2 touchdowns that the Steelers scored, you had a pass, you had an interception that was thrown by Justin Fields after the punch-out by T.J. Watt. That was overturned by roughing the passer. Totally questionable call. I don't think it was a great call. Then you had another one where he threw the ball to Jalen Warren, and that converted to third down. I mean, actually, it did not convert to third down.
It was 18, right.
And then they called another roughing the passer that led to another score, right? That's 14 points. Then you had another score that the Raiders had that was called back, in my opinion, when they called a legal man downfield. I do not believe the legal man downfield. So the Raiders got a lot of beef. And so if you're a casual fan that's looking across the score, you could think, what a blowout. But the reality is that there's a lot of mixed things in here that concerns me, because they could have been a totally different ball game if they weren't for those bad calls.
I personally thought that illegal man downfield was more of a I thought they didn't get the playoff. So maybe the league was saying, hey, that play shouldn't have counted anyway.
Maybe.
No, the people who in New York get into their ears. Anyway, we have a lot to discuss, and we're going to do it with you coming up. We have post-game reaction, Mike Tomlin's press conference, and players. Rich Walsh is in the locker room. We'll have those for you, some analysis, and, of course, your phone calls. We're just getting started. This is your Forward Extra Point Show right here on KDKA+. Don't go away.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point. The Ford F-150 is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the best-selling truck in Pittsburgh.
Along with Chris Hoke, Bob Pompeani here in the studio, here's your quarterback comparison. And again, you see the numbers, rather pedestrian for NFL standards, but the rushing yards, that's the big difference for whenever Justin Fields plays. And that's not to be underestimated because he turned a 3rd down and long into a 1st down and kept the drive alive. But you need more in the pass game, I think, as time goes on here against better teams, and they really won't play a better team until the second half of the season after the bye. What's your take on what you saw today?
Well, I just think Justin Fields, again, legs is where he wanted, and that's the difference in the game. In terms of throwing the football, I mean, you take out that last drive where the 31-yard touchdown, 31 pass to George Pickens. He had 100 yards passing in this game, but 145-yard passing just isn't going to get it done against a good football team. That's if you play against the Chiefs or you play against the Bills, one of those teams. And so I think that they still got to keep searching and keep reaching because right now they're not where they need to be offensively.
Which leads to the question, again, Russell Wilson's ready to go. Every week we've been talking about his ramp up here, and he practiced fully this week, so he looks like he's ready to go. Would Mike Tomlin make a change this coming week against the Jets? And I say that with all due respect to Fields and what he's done. I think I'm encouraged by him longer term. Here, working with him. I think he has developed in the system. He's certainly reduced his turnovers, although there are some turnover-worthy plays that weren't converted by other teams. What would you do at that point?
I don't think Coach Tomlin, in my opinion, is going to make that change until he plays really, really bad, which I don't anticipate, or there's an injury. It's a long season, right? Right now they're 4-2. There's still 11 games left in this season, 3 months of a season. And so you have to look at this and think, we're going to play the long game. We're going to keep Russell Wilson around and keep him healthy, and we're going to play Justin Fields and ride the hot hand. And so I believe Coach Tomlin really, really likes him. You heard Charles Davis say in this show, Bob, during the broadcast, that Coach Tomlin is excited about him. They like the way he works. They like his intangibles. They also like his legs. And so that's something that you have to consider is how excited Coach Tomlin is about him.
No, there's no question. I know he does like him. And again, for a 25-year-old kid, long-term future, this is somebody that you could ride with as he gets better. But what I'm saying is, at some point, Russell Wilson is going to get into this game. And you mentioned, without that one pass to Pickens, it's just 100 yards. There were some overthrows. And they only have hit 5-6 rushing touchdowns. He has 4 of them. You got to get more production from people other than Justin Fields in the run game, don't you?
Well, listen, exactly. And the reality is this offense stalls a lot, too. There are a lot of field goals that are being kicked because then all of a sudden they get into the plus territory, the territory of the opponent, and then they have a false start, or then they have a ball thrown over a running back's head that's a lateral, and it goes for negative yardage, or you run a double reverse pass and you get a negative, all these things, and then it stalls the drive. And my question is, if those little passes or if these little plays that were going negative yardage would be different, would the Steelers put more points on the board? Even today, 32 points. To me, that's shaky, but that's something they have to consider as Coach Tomlin and Arthur Smith look at this offense.
Yeah, and they will, and they have to. This is a Jets team coming up this week here in Pittsburgh that has some weaponry on their offense. So, a situation where you may have to, exchange touchdown for touchdown and not just relying on legs. So, having said all that, I thought the defense was the name of the game here. They made plays, specifically T.J. Watt. Another guy who I have a lot of respect for is Deshaun Elliott. He's a tackler. He's somebody who comes up, and he's sure-handed with his tackling. In open field situations, he had a couple on Brock Bowers today.
Well, two big pickups in the offseason, right? You have Deshaun Elliott and you have Donte Jackson. 2 weeks in a row he had an interception, Bob. So 2 big-time free agents. Patrick Queen, he had some plays. They still like to see him make that big play. But 2 big-time free agents in the defensive backfield.
All right, Mike Tomlin is ready to rock out there in Las Vegas. Let's go to the head coach of the Steelers after a big win.
I think the first thing that needs to be said is just really taken aback by the support that we got here from our fans, Steeler Nation. Continually, man, they show up, man. I just thought it was awesome, man. The environment for a road venue was special. It was special to be a part of. A lot of good things. The splash plays, the block punt. Can't say enough about TJ. That hadn't already been said in terms of his ability to impact the game in a variety of ways. It is special. We're not surprised by it, but it's still special. I thought penalties slowed us down some, particularly early in the game. Self-inflicted wounds, holding calls, and things of that nature kind of stopped the fluidity in which we were moving the ball. I thought once we got over that, we were playing the style of ball that we desired to play. Just really appreciative of getting back on track and handling our business and winning, because that's what this business is about. Zach Frazier's got an ankle injury. It'll be evaluated. There were some other guys that went out of the game but were able to return. Minka was able to go back with a shoulder. Donte Jackson was able to go back with a shoulder, to name a few. We'll keep assessing those things. I'll give you an update next time we come together on some of the medical things. But along the medical lines, I just thought it was an awesome game in that we had a lot of guys getting elevated and getting an opportunity to contribute who hadn't. And I'm just really thankful for their efforts, man, and just the collective attention to detail that allows that to happen when you got guys that are being elevated that lack a little in-game experience and stuff like that. Usually it's a collective in terms of communication and so forth to make sure the day comes off with fluidity. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Mike, I know you're not surprised by TJ, but in a game where you're without 3 of your linebackers and he punches that ball out twice and makes plays like that in those moments, it's a difference maker, obviously.
Again, I don't know what other way to state it other than I'm not surprised by it, but it doesn't make it any less amazing. If you've been around him during the course of his career here, you just know that he is going to seize those moments. He's going to rise up and be what we need him to be in some form or fashion. And I just think today was a reflection of it. It's just another chapter in his awesome story that is his career.
Mike, what was the difference in the run game, and is that as nimble as you've seen Naji?
You know, I just thought it was a collective effort. Not only the bigs, but the perimeter people, and obviously Naj and everyone else. But I just thought anytime you have a run output like that, it's not an individual. It is a collective. That breakout run, I think Muth sealed the corner and allowed him to go. When I look at it, I just felt the collective energy and effort that was necessary.
Anyone else?
Coach, how did you feel about Justin?
You know, I thought he did a nice job, particularly making some things happen with his legs, managing the circumstances and taking care of the ball. Obviously, he took a few hits, but he's a tough guy. I'm glad he's okay, and we'll keep moving.
Coach, after the loss last week, you mentioned getting back on track. How important is it to get a win and a decisive win like this?
You know, winning is our business. Football is our game. Winning is our business. We hadn't been handling business, and so it's just good to get back to taking care of business. This is a normal state for us. It needs to be.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
We're bringing Justin, Naji, and TJ.
Burt Lawton there, Justin, Naji, and TJ. We're going to have them at the podium too, so you can look forward to that coming up. Mike Tomlin happy with that, of course, to get to 4-2 to keep pace with the Baltimore Ravens, who beat Washington today. And that was a good game, by the way.
Yeah.
Both those teams are pretty good. Cleveland continues to lose their 1-5 in tonight's Cincinnati play. So looking at this, again, from the point of emphasis of yardage from the pass game, it just wasn't enough. And when you're going to play teams that you're going to have to dial it up a little bit, you're going to have to come up with more plays. If you discount sacks and all those kind of, what's the number you come up with?
Well, listen, the reality, if you discount the sacks, 110 yards passing total. Right, because they had 3 sacks in this game, and that's how you look at the net passing yards. But if you look at total yards of Justin Fields, 145 yards. And here's the thing. This is kind of the grimy kind of Steelers offense that we usually see. Running, grinded out. And if they can run the ball like they ran today, I know the Raiders are, the 23rd, 24th rushing defense in the NFL. But if they can run the ball like that and have Naji Harris go for 106 yards at 7.6 a clip, then they can live with it. But there are going to be teams that are much better run defenders and defensive teams that are going to make it more difficult to run the ball. They've got to throw the ball and do it over the air. And so I'll be interested to see what happens when they have to. I mean, we have now 6 games a sample, Bob.
Right.
And he's had 1 game over 300 yards. He looked incredible against the Colts.
Second half most.
Against the Colts,
right.
Yeah. But he had 300. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's been pedestrian-like numbers in terms of throwing the football.
Yeah, and again, you could classify today as a slow start. I know that's something that we've been pounding, but if you fall behind really significantly, it's tough to come up, and all you have to do is look at that Colts game. And the other thing you have to consider here, the Raiders are a bad team, and they're not a good team, and they're missing many of their
personnel challenged, right?
But and they took advantage. They did what they had to do, and that's why that defense settled down and played terrific after that first drive. But that's not a good team right now.
No, really, they're not. And so really to struggle like that at times in this game for the first 3/4 of the game, it leaves me scratching my head because this team is not a very good football team because of injuries being decimated, not really having a quarterback. And so they've got to continue to grind. The Steelers have to get back to the drawing board and work.
All right, we're going to talk about some of the significant plays. Naji Harris made a big one, a 36-yard touchdown run. He's talking right now at the podium. Okay, we're having a technical issue with that. We'll get to it as soon as we figure that out. But that 36-yard run, you talked about something, and it looked like Robert Spillane took the wrong route to get to him.
What happened was, linebackers, if you're an inside linebacker, your angle to the ball is inside out. You don't want to get over the top of a running back. He got over the top and overran the run.
All right, here's Naji Harris.
For the big plays to happen, for the splash plays that everyone want to see, everybody talk about they want to see more. It's just that, it takes all 11 of us. So downfield blocking was a big thing that we try to get better, and that's the thing I think we did today. Finishing and straining through runs, straining through plays. If somebody breaks one, anybody pitch another block. If you look around the league, those are what sparks big runs. That's how big runs happen, is the downfield play from other guys. So I think that was just something that showed today.
Can this get the run game going for the rest of the season?
Yeah, like I said, man, the more that we come together and realize that we look on film and we see, Pat threw a block right here, Miller, to certain guys just coming in there and blocking. I think that they'll see that, if you want to be efficient on both passing and running, that, you got to get there and block. There's a dirty part of everybody's job. For us, it's pass protection, getting a 4-yard run or just doing things like that. And for the receivers, it's getting there and blocking. Sometimes you got to block at the end and you're not, sized up well, but, you just getting something on him creates a bigger play. So I think that when we go on film and we see that, that's just going to be something to build upon.
Naji, when you're running towards the end zone there, do you have like a yard line where you kind of know, okay, I can dive from here? Is it all just feel? You only made it by a couple of inches. That was pretty impressive.
You saying, do I have like a certain...
Yeah, guy goes up for a dunk, he knows I can make it from the foul line or wherever. Do you have a spot where you know you can get to the goal line?
How you know that? You don't know that. I think that everybody believes, whenever I believe they can do something, they can do it. It doesn't care what people say or what they think is normal. Like, if I say I want to jump from the free throw line like Michael Jordan did, you could jump from the free throw line. I don't put no type of restraints on what I can do because I know what I can do. I don't really care what other people say or think. So when I had the opportunity, I just took it. And I don't care if I was however far away, I know I could make it when I really believe in myself. So, to answer your question, no.
You have a run like you did in the second quarter, guys piling on you, kind of carrying them. Did you enjoy that? Do you, put any intent into that? What's your viewpoint on a run like that?
To spark the offense. You got to have some. When drivers aren't going so well, you need a play that will spark it. I always try to be that person to spark the play. So really, when that was some more of just what can I do for the team to know that we got to keep pushing, and this is a 4-quarter fight, and we need plays and create some type of excitement to know that all right, Naji did that, let me do mine now, and then it should be a domino effect. The receivers do that, tight ends make plays, Justin make plays, and it's just a domino effect. So really, it's just to give a spark for the team.
Naji, you had those brutal runs like that, but you bounced the touchdown outside. You put a nifty move on a guy in the open field another time. Do you feel that maybe you're a little more nimble when you run at times, Or can you be?
What? I know, like I said, I know what I could do, man. I don't know what y'all trying to get out of me. I've been doing that since college. I've been doing that in the league. It's just certain plays you can show more because, you're more open space one-on-one. Sometimes when the play is clogged, you ain't going to see me doing a move, like that. Sometimes it's certain opportunities where you could make those type of moves. So I'm guessing you're talking about on that run where I broke. And, yeah, I'm one-on-one with the corner. So that's something that me personally, likes to have because those are opportunities I know I could win both hurdling, running over, or making a move, So when that situation came, I saw them playing a little bit more on the outside and didn't want me to get out to the edge. So I knew that if I make a move, I did actually last week against the Seahawks, or not last week, against the Cowboys. So, man, I'm not good at interviewing, man, because I'm actually too honest with what I say, man, and I don't have no filter. So, I'm trying to keep this stuff. I'm trying to keep this stuff PG before I start cussing. So, What's the?
One more.
Some of the guys in the locker room mentioned that it looked like you had an extra edge coming into today.
Who said that?
Deshaun Elliott said it. Or said it. Said maybe it was because Marshawn was here. That
shout out to Sean.
What kind of attitude did you have coming into today? Did you feel like you had another edge?
Nah, I just feel like, man, we gotta get a win. I think we lost 2 in a row, so I mean, this is a perfect time to get another win and be a 4-2, and go on and play our next opponent. So that's really my mindset. Sorry, I can't make every game like that. I know y'all just waiting to write type something about me. I'm gonna try to do it again next game. You know what I mean? And maybe it'll be something good, but you know what I mean? It was just one of those games where shit started working good.
All right, thanks, man. We have Justin and TJ coming.
All right, Justin and TJ are coming. That was Naji Harris. He had one of the bigger plays, of course, of this game, 36 yards. We talked at the beginning of the season, Chris, about the fact the Steelers didn't pick up his 5th-year option, and he should be. I felt he would have a big year. Sure. The numbers don't necessarily indicate that, but the way he played today, if this can continue, boy, that's going to be something for other teams to worry about.
I think it's a combination of how he ran the football and the blocking. Everything was coordinated, right? The offensive line did a good job of getting a hat on a hat, where they struggled at times, Bob, to get a hat on the second level, the linebackers, and the receivers blocked better. But I do believe that he looked a little more quick and faster with that ball in the open field. And coming into this game, that you talk about that, he was only averaging 54 yards a game at 3.3 in average. That's way below what he's usually averaging at this point in the season. So to see him have a kind of game he had today, I hope he continues to play like that, because that's what they're going to need out of him as they go on the stretch, especially if Justin Fields still stays at quarterback and they can't throw the football.
Right, exactly. That's going to be one of the big components here. When we come back, I'm going to ask Chris about Arthur Smith after 6 games, the new offensive coordinator. They're 4-2. You take 4 wins out of 6 most every time in the NFL. But the scoring today was one of the rare days where they got in the 30s overall. What's Chris's take on that? I call it Hoke's hunches. We'll get into that when we continue right here on your post-game show. It is the Ford Extra Point as you look at the Bellagio fountain.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, now it's time for the McClellan's Contracting and Roofing final stats. And this is net passing yards, if you're wondering about the Steelers. They had 145 for Justin Fields, who got a 75 rating in this game, which was actually lower than Aiden O'Connor, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you make out of those?
Oh, number one's the rushing yards, right? 183 yards rushing on 35 carries at 5.2 average. I mean, that's big time. That's the kind of running game that we need to see from Arthur Smith's offense. So that pops out at me. Again, the penalties are a little concerning. What's not on here, Bob, that is huge is 3 takeaways by the Steelers defense and a blocked punt.
Right.
That really was the difference in this game.
Yeah, you do that, you're going to win all the time. At least most of the time the numbers say that. And they did that today. The defense, Watt with 2 of them. I thought Elliott played well. I thought the front, the first drive of the game, there were 40 yards of rushing by Vegas. They ended up with 57 for the day. So that front 4, those guys all did well, whether it was Montrevious, Adams, also Cam Heyward. Sure. All those guys played very well, and I thought gave them an opportunity to kind of flood the zone and make life difficult for him, Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, they really stepped up, and the Raiders did a good job of scripting that first drive and had the Steelers on their heels, mixing it up with run and pass, good quick throws by Aiden O'Connell, and then they were able to settle down. But again, we got to go back, take away. They were moving the ball. And there were times that they turned the ball over down there at the 1-yard line. Another time where T.J. Watt punched those balls out. Those were all on drives that were moving down the field, Bob.
Right.
So the defense really had a big part in stalling that Raiders offense.
One of them came after
blocking and tackling.
That I thought the Raiders should have challenged the call on the field. The touchdown that wasn't called. It was down at the 1-yard line. Yeah. It looked close enough to at least slow the pace down.
I know Gene said he wouldn't have, but I think it was worth a challenge. But I do still believe that was a bad call, a legal man downfield. That should have been a tutty for the Raiders.
Yeah, if nothing else, even if you lose the challenge, then you slow it. It was a 3rd down upcoming. Yeah. And I think Watt knew it was going to be a run play, and he came right in again and just punch that ball
But that's
away.
kind of,
right hook,
if that would have been a clean play, right? What happens is a lot of times teams try to rush down there and you have the defense on their heels, right? And they're trying to get personnel in and out and you try to catch them off guard and attack them and score. It just worked in their disadvantage that time.
All right, I wanted to ask you about Arthur Smith. So far after 6 games, it's been up and down in terms of points.
Yeah.
Today was a good day because they cashed in on him, but still, What's your assessment of what you've seen?
I still think the jury's out. Again, up and down, up and down. The offensive line has been in flux. You see now more injuries, and that's his teams are based on running the football. And you can't run the football when you have injuries and you can't have any kind of cohesion along the offensive line. I still think that they can get better play out some of those starters that are there as well. But if they can build on what they did today, if they can run the football like they did today, you're going to see this offense open up, because that's what he did in Tennessee, and that's why he has so much success there.
Yeah, and you mentioned the block punt. Jeremiah Moon, he's a guy who's thrown into it. He came up with a significant play, and they had the ball at the 9-yard line, but the bad part of that, they got only 3 points.
Only got 3 points. And when you get the ball on the 9-yard line, you have to get 7 points, right? But the reality is the 3 points, and they took them. But the Steelers have to find ways. They got the ball on the 36, and they got the ball on the 30, and they got the ball on the 9. And those they got points, but 2 times of those they were 3. They should have been off the field because of the interception. The other one was another questionable call, and then you have that field goal on the 9. So to me, that's why I come away with this thinking, man, there was a lot left on that field to be desired.
Yeah, and Vegas, quite frankly, didn't have a punchback at all. They couldn't do anything against the Steeler defense, which really flexed its collective muscles and made this the game it was. Donte Jackson made a big interception again today, and he's coming up with a couple for the Pittsburgh Steelers on an overthrow by Aiden O'Connell. He spoke after the game.
It feels great. It feels great, and shout out to the defense, man. That's just complimentary ball. He tried to throw a seam. I was over the top. Guys underneath made a great play at making it, making him throw the ball high. Mink had covered the underneath route, and he had no choice but to try to squeeze it in there, and that's when I snap into action.
Donte, was this kind of the perfect recipe for a Steelers win? How you guys want to play and win games?
100%, man. Come out, play a balanced game. Team, all 3 phases came out and played up to the standard, and that's what happened, And I think that this week, that's what the week had came for us. We didn't care about who was up or who was starting at quarterback or who was anything. We just cared about us, and we just hold each other accountable. This week was probably our best week of preparation. Really not even really worrying about the opponent, just really more so worrying about us and connecting, longer meetings, more talking, more everything. Just to try to get everything that we need to be cleaned up, because we know what we can be.
2 slow starts, but it seems like the defense set the tone with those forced fumbles there early on, and it kind of the offense fed off that. Really.
Yeah, man. Like I said, man, we played a balanced game. Rush coverage, offense making some big plays, and obviously special team. My boy Moon coming through, getting a big block, man. So yeah, man, that is the funnest way to win. As a professional, that's the funnest way to win when all 3 phases contribute and everybody's just having fun, and that's like I said, that's a great way to win.
Donte Jackson with an interception. A lot of discussion at the time of the trade when Omar Khan sent Deontay Johnson to Carolina. They got back Donte Jackson, and he was about to be released by Carolina. Watching him play, I wonder what they saw or didn't see in him, because he's been really good here. However, when you look at him, the expectation was not coming in being a guy who's going to average maybe, pick every other game. That's pretty good stuff for a guy who's a veteran, and he's really complimented JPJ.
There's no question about it. And listen, when that trade happened, a lot of people thought that the Panthers got the better end of that deal, right? And now we're looking at this, and Donte Jackson just with a heck of a pickup for the Steelers and doing a great job out there. And really, the corners are playing well. JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., he does a great job with covering their best receiver. Dante's on the backside, covering whoever comes his way, and they're a great tandem. And again, you talked about Deshaun Elliott, and these 2 guys in the secondary have really brought not only an athletic bone to that defensive backfield, but a physical. They play physical ball, Bob, and you talked about it. Both of them can hit, and both of them play well in the run support.
Yeah, and they're very good tacklers. And if you're not going to make plays, make sure you get the tackles before guys get to the yardage sticks, and they did, and they've done it. All right. We are right now going to go to TJ Watt. We believe he's headed for the podium, and again, another typical Watt day. I mean, that right hook is prize fighter caliber.
No. I mean, I can definitely feel the slides and more chips and things of that nature, but I understand that at a certain point, if they want to truly eliminate getting to the quarterback with getting the ball out quick, the slides, the chips, like a team can pretty much do that if they want to. So I'm going to have to try to find ways to continue to affect the game as much as possible. And I've been doing the punch out since, back to Tim Tibesar in college at Wisconsin. He coached Peanut Tillman in Chicago, and he used to always tell me, and Peanut used to always get a ball out every day in practice. And I carried that with me, and it's been something I've continued to try to do, especially when you get in those situations. And when you have a defense that flies around like this, you're able to take more chances. I don't always get the football, but when you do, it's a big play.
You guys have been taking the ball away in the red zone a lot the last couple of games.
Yeah, we'll take them anywhere on the field we can get, but when it's in the red zone, you're taking away points. It's huge plays.
When your offense is able to capitalize out and score on a lot of those turnovers, what does that do for a defense?
Well, it's huge. It allows us to continue to hopefully pin our ears back. But even just like, I think it was the second to last drive, they were able to still march down and score. And we need to correct. There's still things to correct, even though we were able to win with a decent-sized margin. But I'd say more importantly is just starting the game fast. And I know we talk about it each and every week, but we need to continue to hone in on starting the game faster.
I know you wanted to start games faster, but what did you like about the response after that initial touchdown?
Oh, it was great. I think 3 or 4 3 and outs in a row after that, and it's just corrections and kind of warming up to the action, as Coach T always says. We just need to come off the bus ready to go.
What does it say about this defense that you guys lead the league in red zone takeaways? I think by at least 2 more than the next closest.
I don't know. I wouldn't even know that stat if you didn't tell me right now.
What does it say maybe about the timing of the splash plays that you have that have been the don't-break defense that seems to show up week after week?
Yeah, we're trying to make splash plays any time in the field. It just so happens that right now they're coming in the red zone, but we'll take them any way we possibly can.
Did you feel the crowd?
Oh, absolutely. We knew that was going to be the case, but appreciate it. Steeler fans are incredible. Steeler Nation is smart when it comes to when to get loud, and they were awesome today.
Cam was pretty animated after that first touchdown drive. What was his message there to the line?
Oh, a lot of yelling. I don't know. Cam being Cam, but it worked.
How much does it motivate a defense when you see Naji rip off some of the runs that he had today?
That's huge. It's huge. Anytime you're able to run the ball in the National Football League, it's demoralizing for a defense. We know from experience. But it also allows us to get a little bit more wind on the sideline to be able to come out. And we always say best defenses spend a lot of time on the bench, and when we're ripping off runs like that, we're able to spend time on the bench.
What did you see from Moon out there? Played a lot.
He played a lot. Him and Ade stepped up, had a great game today, trying to find ways to get off the field a little bit more and let those guys get some snaps. And we knew they were more than capable of getting some positive snaps. And even at the end there, Ade had a couple nice rushes.
Good.
And the block punt was incredible by Moon.
Good. Thanks. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, the run defense was very good there. 19 carries for the Raiders, I said. They had most of their yardage on the first drive. After that, not much at all. 57 total yards. That's 2.0. Anytime you could do that, you're going to make them one-dimensional. With a backup quarterback who has no receivers, you make them in big trouble, and that's what the Raiders were. And the Steeler defense set that tone, although you heard T.J. Watt said you'd like to start the tone a little faster. Because that first drive made it 7-0 that quick. I want to ask you about the punch-out because you've played defense for 11 years, right? What is the technique that makes it successful? Because I know over the last couple of games he's tried to do that and it's not connected.
And to me, it's like shooting the ball from half court, right? And you shoot the ball from half court, you're praying you make it. If you come and you punch at the ball and you bring your arms, right, and you secure the tackle, it's one thing. But what you saw last week when the Steelers played the Cowboys, there were a lot of missed tackles, a lot of extra yardage that the Cowboys got because you had defenders punching at the ball but not bringing their arms to secure the tackle. When you watch T.J. Watt do it, punch, his arms come, and you bring your arms. I think of Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher used to always yell at us as defenders, bring your arms, right? And if you punch and don't try to tackle, that's when you get yourself in trouble. And that's why the Steelers had a tough time stopping the Cowboys last week, Dowdle, because there were a lot of extra yards after defenders trying to punch the ball but not bring in.
Yeah, that was a big difference. Dallas had their way in that game, and today it wasn't the case. They didn't establish anything whatsoever. Even the big play reduction. Last week, Dallas had 4 plays that were over 25 yards, and this week,
and that's the difference, right? And because T.J. Watt, again, he's just so good at it, right? And he was the only one that did it. You saw that. I didn't see any other defender coming in punching, right? He came, boom, wrap. And that's what's got to happen in order to do it effectively and not give up hidden yardage after a punch.
And they were critical. Both of them today changed the direction of the game. We're going to take a break, come back with more post-game reaction, and then shortly we'll be taking your phone calls as well on a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. There's the Sphere. I was in there this week. You've got to go. I know you love technological advances. That's as good as it gets right there. 32-13. The Steelers win this game in Vegas.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Bob Pompeani and Chris Hoke with you. Let's go around the league. In the NFL today, the Eagles beat the Browns in a real dog of a game. The Browns are now 1-5. Colts, how about Joe Flacco? He has the longest active streak of most consecutive games with at least 2 touchdown passes. How about that at age 40?
And he can still throw the football.
And he still does. He had 2 of them today. Commanders, that was a good game. They gave Baltimore opportunities late in the game. They could have won the game, but Ravens prevail, so they're 4-2. And then the Texans, behind C.J. Stroud. Drake May made his debut in New England. Wasn't a good one.
Wasn't a good one, but anytime you let a team put 41 points on you, it's always going to be a bad one for a new quarterback.
This past week, the phrase was snap management. Mike Tomlin said that's the reason George Pickens went in a reduction of snaps. There were 58 offensive snaps last week. He was only on the field for 34 of them. So I wondered how many targets he would get today. We're playing a little game over and under. I think the line was like 3.5. He went over that.
He had 8 targets today.
8 targets. He dropped 1.
Oh, he had a couple drops.
Yeah. So, I mean, they clearly want to get him involved, and they needed to do that. And I thought they'd do it quicker than they did.
They did. They wanted to get it, and they tried to, right? And he had a drop early, and then he had that touchdown pass there before that Fields ran that touchdown in. He dropped that ball. It was right in his hands. So he had a couple drops in this game. And again, you take out, until that last drive, you take away that 31, he had 2 catches for 22 yards going into that last drive of the game, the touchdown drive. So, I mean, they got to get him involved. And I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's the scheme, but somehow they've got to get him going.
All right. He spoke after the game. Let's hear it from number 14, George Pickens.
Say help or harm, I'm just glad we got the W.
George, I don't know if you were asked this, but does this seem like a perfect kind of recipe for a Steelers win for you guys, like the way you played overall, all 3 phases?
I wouldn't say perfect recipe because every game got its own, own moments. But I'm glad we did get the dub today, though.
Those turnovers by the defense, how much did that offense feed off that, especially that first one by TJ?
A lot. When you on defense punching the ball out, we are on our own. We're in the red zone already. And that helps a lot too.
Towards the big plays you guys were able to make, yourself included, how much of the offense can that be? How big a part of it?
Oh, it's a huge part. Like I said, every game is a huge part of it. It's just, going out and executing.
All right, here's his day. George had 8 targets, 3 receptions, 53 yards. Technically 2 drops according to the stats. That first one, it was in a tough place, but again, a receiver of his caliber has to make that. Averaging 17.7. Clearly, they need to get him involved. They need to go down the field more because I think that's where he is most effective. Whether that's in the middle of the field, sidelines, whatever the case, because he can run afterwards, and he has a lot of potential that they're trying to harness.
And here's the problem. I think he draws a lot of the attention to him because of the way putting the tape and the words on his thing and his attitude. People come into this game saying, I'm going to shut him down and make him look bad, rather than just going out there and just playing and not drawing all that attention to you. So I think he's making his job a little bit more difficult, Bob. And to me, I'm old school. Just go out and play and let things happen and not draw attention to yourself. But that's a lot of receivers do that throughout the NFL as well.
Pat Freiermuth had a touchdown that was disallowed because Justin Fields went over the line of scrimmage. Other than that, he had 3 targets, 2 catches. I want to ask you about that flea flicker that got blown up. Was that his responsibility, the block?
Yeah, I mean, the defender did a great job.
He did.
Diablo had a really good game too, right? I mean, and Diablo he snuffed it out from the very beginning, and he saw what was going on. And so when he sat there, he beelined for Justin Fields before Pat Freiermuth could get to him. I would say that was a better defensive play than a bad offensive play. You saw today the Lions ran that play to perfection and threw a nice ball down the sideline for big gainer. But that right there, to me, wasn't a bad call. It was an unbelievable play by that defender.
Diablo had a really good game. He had an interception also called back that was a critical one for the Raiders. All right, let's hear from number 88, Pat Freiermuth, after the game today.
Man, he works his ass off every single day. Comes in the building every day with a smile on his face, ready to work. And seeing it pay off in this game, we really leaned on him. And it was just awesome to see. Very happy for him.
Pat, does it mean anything to get to 30 points for this offense?
I mean, I guess if you want to look at that, we're just happy that we were able to put points on the board. It doesn't matter how many we got the W, but I felt like offense was rolling for sure. So we got to keep building on it and continue to put up points.
This seems like the perfect kind of recipe for a Steelers win, the way you guys played today.
Absolutely. Special teams got involved with a huge block, scored off it. Obviously want to punch the ball in the end zone a little more, but Boz helped us out there. Defense created turnovers. We scored off it. So was a very complimentary game for us, and it was awesome.
Was this the most effective run game for you guys this year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you guys saw that. I don't know how many yards we had, but we had a lot. Just very, very happy for everyone.
Been able to bounce back like.
Where it looked like you pushed Naji forward like 7 extra yards, that 15-yard one, where it looked like at one point or another everybody was kind of helping move that pile.
Yeah, I mean, he was right there. His legs were turning, just trying to help him get more yards. And that's kind of the mentality that Art has brought to our offenses. We're always going to, get the extra yard for our brother, and it was great.
Yeah, rushing yards today, 183. When you factor in Justin Fields had 59 of those, and that's a big part of his day, too. When he gets going and he can turn a 3rd and long into a first down, he did that once earlier in this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the value in Justin Fields being on the field is his ability to turn a broken play or when nobody's open. When most quarterbacks, Joe Flacco, right, or even last year, some of the quarterbacks we had could not move the chains. He's able to get away and run and convert the first downs and get the chains moving. One of the big ones was that draw, the quarterback draw that he had in this game, where he came back, he looked to his right and then took off. That was a big gainer. Those kind of plays put defenses on their heels.
Yeah, and you have to be aware that they're going to call it.
You have to be
quarterback
draw,
draw, and he's very good at doing it too. All right, about the offensive line, you heard earlier Mike Tomlin said that Zach Frazier has an ankle injury of some magnitude. Now, he's a tough kid. He walked off when probably he didn't need to, but according to Evan Washburn on the field, he wanted to come back into the game. But if it's a high ankle sprain, that couldn't keep him out. They've had a lot of injuries to that offensive line. On behalf of that unit, Dan Moore spoke after the game. Let's hear what he had to say.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, to get back on the track of winning, it felt good to execute out there on offense. It felt good to play team ball, to feed off of each other, momentum swings, defense making splash plays, special teams making splash plays. I thought we played a good game of team football today.
In the run game, you got that finally going.
No, most definitely. Credit to all 11 people on the field. We went out there and executed.
What does a win like this, do for you guys, bouncing back from 2 losses like that?
Yeah, it's a huge boost of confidence. I mean, you never want to drop the ball 2 weeks in a row, but it feels like we're back on track. We just got to keep it rolling.
A couple of those runs that Naji had, that he put around, especially, how much does that energize you guys as an offense to see those?
Yeah, you love to see stuff like that when he's pounding and, guys are finishing over the pile. That's the type of things we strive for, specifically as an offensive line and as an offensive unit.
All right, he's been very consistent out there playing every single game. There have been a lot of injuries to that offensive line. This was the 2nd day in a row that they had everyone who started last week was starting this week. And now you're going to have some changes potentially there with Frazier going down. That did not look good when it happened. He got bent back like a pretzel.
Yeah, really, I hope he's okay because to me, he's been the best offensive lineman for the Steelers right now. He's just such a stud in the middle of that line, come off the ball, getting his hands on people and driving. And where was he at when he got hurt? He had his defender 3 yards downfield.
Second level. He's always
second level, driving someone. He plays to the whistle every single play.
Mason McCormick was in. They have guys who have versatility to play that. But at the same time, again, that weakens the depth on that offensive line.
It does. And Zach Frazier really, it was a guy that should have been a first-round pick. I mean, he's this guy, big-time pedigree, and he's going to be a Pro Bowl, maybe an all-pro player, if not this year, next year, because he is just so good and reliable.
All right, so once again, the Steelers have come home 4-2. They have 2 home games coming up now. It's the Jets and the Giants. So your hunch here, and I say it, Hokies hunch, you're going to stick with Fields. I think I would too at this point, but I think it's getting closer to a decision if there is a bad game, if something happens. I didn't expect it.
How bad does he have to be, though? I mean, right now he threw for just over 100 yards in this game, but he was great with his legs, right? And Coach Tomlin, he's talked about it for years. He values quarterbacks who can run the football. And Russ Wilson, it's not that he can't run the football, but he's not like Justin Fields at this point in his career. So I would think that unless he comes out and turns the ball over, and he's not doing that, or there's an injury, he will remain the starting quarterback.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if they trail and they have to go to the pass game and it doesn't work that way, at some point it's going to happen because wasn't the plan Russell Wilson, the quote pole position everybody talked about all year? At some point,
things change.
But they thought he could be the guy who would be the engineer of this offense, who can help them in this one season.
I think long term it would be more detrimental to sit him down and bring Russ Wilson in than it would be to let him ride. And then if he makes a mistake, like a goalie, switch him out and put Russ Wilson in, or if he gets hurt. Because I think the Steelers looking here, Russ Wilson doesn't have a long-term plan with the Steelers. They feel that Justin Fields is their long-term answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
So I think if you sit him down, it just messes with the confidence.
All right, we'll see how that goes. But it's a subject that we all talk about, and it's because there's 24/7 sports conversation these days. It's always brought up. But he is ready to play, and he was the backup quarterback today. We're going to take a break here. We'll come back with more as we continue right here with the Ford postgame show after a Steelers win 32-13 to get to 4-2. Same record as the Baltimore Ravens, who won today as well. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, let's take a look at your leading tacklers today. Patrick Queen had a busy day, 13 tackles, 5 of them solo. Deshaun Elliott right there. Peyton Wilson got involved. Watt is always on this list. Landon Roberts, very good run stopper. And after the game, Patrick Queen spoke in the locker room.
Perfect kind of recipe, like how you guys want to win football games, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of plays out there that we missed both sides of the ball, and we know that. It's that last drive where we let them go down and score, second to last drive. That's one that we all want back. I want back, especially because I know in that slant on the second window I could have had that play. And this team, we thrive off each other. When offense have big plays, we go out there and play better. When we have big plays, offense go out there and play better. So it's just the point of us starting fast. That first drive was not us on defense. Offense did their job, went down there, started fast. So we just got to have it back.
After that forced fumble, it seemed like it just changed the momentum of the game, and it changed it what the offense was able to do. They kind of fed off that.
Yeah, me and TJ O'Leary just talking about that like 2 plays before it happened. We were sitting in the huddle talking about that. So just to see him going out there and being him, being a great guy that I know, that's why he's the best, because he does that stuff and gets his team going.
What does a win like this do after those 2 losses? Is we able to bounce back here?
It doesn't do nothing but just gets us to the next week and a better record. It don't mean nothing. We don't repeat it this next week, so we just got to go in there, lock in, get our bodies right, and just be ready for the next one.
You guys stressed communication all week this week. Do you feel like it was where you needed it to be today?
It was better, but it's still not where it needs to be. And that's just something that we just got to keep honing in on, try to get better at. It's just a few plays here and there that we all mess up on communication, and that comes with the game. No team perfect, but we got to strive for that.
All right, certainly a busy day for Patrick Queen, who I think in the previous several games, people were wondering, they wanted to see more significant plays from him. How do you address his performance today?
Well, he was all over the field, right? I look at their 6 solo tackles. As a linebacker, inside linebacker, you should be the leading tackler on your team. So I thought he brought a physical presence to this game. At times had some big tackles, had a nice tackle for a loss. But of course, you want to see more out of him as being that center player, that really the captain of the defense, your inside linebacker.
I think if last week, if you looked at a Landon Roberts in that play, if they recover the fumble, that would have been one that people would have talked about forever. But it didn't happen that way. But you can be sure that he's always around the football, and he was again today. This is what he had to say after the game.
Perfect kind of win for the Steelers, the way you guys want to win football games.
I think, we looked at this game as just getting back on track. Every team you don't want to keep losses happening. So as a team, we just looked at, hey, man, we have to start doing what we need to do and knuckling down. And, it started in practice for us, and we came out here, played complimentary 60-minute football, and we was able to come out the game victorious.
It looked totally different after that first drive. You guys really, kind of changed the momentum of the game with that forced fumble there.
Man, it's the NFL. First drives happen. You see them all across the league. Obviously a defense come out. You want to get to a fast start. You want a 3 and out. But that's the offense over there on the other side of the ball with pros, with great athletes that's been preparing the same way all week. So, yeah, they came at us, and they was able to capitalize off their first drive. But as a defense, one thing about us, man, we got good coaches and we got good players that's able to make the adjustments that we need to make. And after we made them quickly, we was able to go out there and start, doing what we need to do and playing our solid football.
Not only on defense, but the splash plays you guys made, like Jeremiah's block punt. How much does that do for a team?
Absolutely does a lot. You do things in the special team side of it, man. That changes the whole momentum of a game, man. I think statistically, man, it shoots your win rate up. So, it was big for us, man. And like me, I'm the type of player I appreciate special teams because I know that it takes all 3 phases of the game to win a game. And, special teams with that splash play today and the things that you don't see on the stats that we get from our special team players, man, it's always a hats off to them guys.
When I think of Steelers physical football, he's at the top of the list because that guy brings it every single day.
He brings a physical element to that defense. And he got away with one today, though, Bob, on that long pass that the that the Raiders had down the field on their one drive where they turned the ball over on the 1 yard line. Landon came flying down the field, and I love the hustle. He got away with the helmet-to-helmet hit there. I'm sure he'll hear from the NFL this week. But that guy is a physical player. He brings intensity and passion, and that's one of those things that really elevates the Steelers' defense.
Yeah, and your play you're talking about, he came out of nowhere and just like a rocket shot.
It was a rocket shot, and so I think he's going to hear from New York.
They normally do. They get you in the wallet. One guy whose wallet got bigger is Cam Heyward. He got a new deal, and boy, he's been living up to it. He had a sack today, and he's a force on that defensive line. He spoke after the game as well.
You know, I thought we played good in opportunities, stopped the run. You know, I thought we, you know, had big turnovers. And then our offense controlled the line of scrimmage. You know, I think it's a recipe, but, you know, game in, game out, it's going to be different things we got to overcome.
After that slow start in that first drive, that TJ forced fumble seemed to really change kind of the momentum in the offense kind of fed back.
Yeah, you know, I thought that after that play, you know, we were able to get a score, and then, you know, they kind of had to play catch up a little bit. So, you know, they got out of rhythm. Once we can get them out of rhythm, we can have a lot more success.
I guess this is a proof of the game that like big splash plays, including that special teams play, kind of really changed the game.
Totally. You know, special teams either creates it or, you know, breaks it when it comes to momentum. And so after that, you know, it felt like, you know, there was a little bit of an avalanche, and we were able to put up points.
After 2 tough losses, it's a good feeling, a good way to kind of bounce back with a win like this.
Yeah, definitely want to get the win. You know, especially when you got to travel all the way back East Coast. But you know, I thought we did the job. You know, pat on the back, but more fish to fry.
I like fish fry.
I do too. I like it anyway. I love fish. All right, let's get into the standings here as we take a look at the AFC North. And the Ravens kept pace with the Steelers by winning today against Washington. And the Steelers do have them after the bye later this season. Bengals will play tonight. Browns lost again. They have all sorts of problems in Cleveland. But you can see this is going to be a very interesting race as it gets deeper into this season with all these, you know, head-to-head battles, mostly in the second half of the year. All right, Justin Fields, we talked a lot about his performance today. Using the legs, he accounted for 60 yards of rushing offense to go with his 145 in the air. It's another winning performance. He speaks right now.
Those are huge. Those are super big. So I'm glad, you know, the second one was kind of harder to see, so I'm glad the rest were able to see that. And, you know, I don't know who it was, but somebody just did something extra, kind of pushed my face mask in the ground, so I'm glad the rest got that. But those are definitely big for us, for sure.
Justin, what was working for the run game today? How much does it help you out when you have Naji ripping off the runs?
Yeah, the O-line did a great job, and, of course, Naji did a great job, all the running backs, to be honest with you. And I think we just played with a lot of effort and the physicality, you know, yards up to contact. You know, Naji was getting pushed by O-linemen. I saw Muth in there a couple of times. So, you know, those yards up to contact, kind of pushing the pile, we need those, and it, you know, kind of sparks the offense.
Justin, he had those bruising runs like that, but he bounced the touchdown outside, and another one he bounced outside for a long game.
Mm-hmm.
You saw like 2 different types of backs with Naji.
Yeah, I mean, Naji, I don't know what he ate last night. I don't know what he did, but he sure did ball out today. So whatever he did, you know, this week, hopefully he comes back and, you know, do the same thing next week.
Justin, the running game with Naji is going, does that make it easier for you when you go to run, you know, on something like the bootleg and things like that? Because they're more focused on him now?
Yeah, I think my second rushing touchdown, I mean, you know, Naji scored on the toss, so they were probably thinking we were going to do the same thing. You fake the toss and, you know, keep the boot. And, you know, there's only 1 or 2 guys over there. So, you know, just like I said, it starts with the O-line up front, and then it starts with the run game. So, and then kind of everything works off of that. So, like I said, you know, Naji and the O-line did a great job executing. And, yeah, a big day for sure. Yeah, I mean, it was good. You know, I got a lot of reps with Ryan in training camp, so you know, it was pretty normal for me. Just had to make sure I was getting a few snaps from him, you know, before he came in. But it was smooth for the most part.
All right, that's Justin Fields after the game, and what lies ahead? Let's check out the Ford Road ahead. Back-to-back night games at Acrisure Stadium. You have the Jets coming in. That's next Sunday, and then the following Monday, it'll be the New York Giants, 2 teams that are struggling, but yet are capable. Then a bye, and then at Commanders and Ravens, we get into the really good head-to-head matchups after that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to those games after the bye week. I mean, the Steelers really, in theory, should win these next two games. Two and three teams. The Giants play tonight, but these are games at home, prime time, when typically the Steelers play well. They didn't play last week well against the Cowboys, but I expect these games to be very competitive, and the Steelers coming out on the right end of this.
Yeah, the numbers say the Steelers should prevail. They'll be favored in both those games, and it'll be nice to get the 6-2 for them into a bye week, and then you can kind of take a deep breath and rethink, reset for the second half of the season. All right, that's going to do it for this show. The Ford Extra Point coming up. We will have a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You know what that means. Call us, text us. We want to hear from you, your thoughts about what went on today at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, where the Steelers come away with a 32-13 win to get the 4 wins, 2 losses. That's coming up next. Thanks for joining us right here on KDKA.